How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Swimming in the Stream, a podcast about original content on different streaming apps. And I'm with my co-hosts, Mina
Hey guys.
and Nick.
Hi.
And I'm Dion. So today we're going to talk about, this is episode 1, so we're just going to cover some things that most anticipated for 2019 and then top things we've watched in 2018. So we're going to start with the 2018 list of top things we've seen, and I think we're going to go with Mina first, I believe.
Yep, I'm gonna start it off. Okay, so for me, definitely in my top 3, it was really hard to narrow down 3 and 2. But for me, the best thing I saw in 2018 was She-Ra and the Princess of Power. It's a reboot of the 1985 She-Ra Princess of Power series that we all grew up with. That was definitely questionable. I actually really liked the animation on this. It reminded me of old school animation that we all kind of don't get to see as much, but it also kind of reminded me of Steven's Universe style of like diversity and just pulling characters with actual backstory. So I really liked this show, and I think all of us have seen it at this point.
I haven't finished it.
You haven't finished it yet? What episode did you get to?
I don't know. Mina, what episode did I get to?
I think you got to episode 8.
So did you finish it without me?
I might have.
That's a reoccurring theme. She finishes without me.
I was curious about something that I saw on the internet, so I kind of like derailed, and I ended up watching the whole thing.
Nice. Okay.
What did you see on the internet? Now, I enjoyed She-Ra, but
spoiler warning for She-Ra, because he's probably about to talk about some things that happened on the show. He has a tendency to do that.
So yeah, okay.
Say the spoiler warning.
Disclaimer. Yeah, disclaimer. This show is very spoiler heavy. So if you don't like to be spoiled for the shows that you haven't watched yet, go watch it and then come back. But for She-Ra, I enjoyed it. It was just I guess little things, and I didn't feel like the writing was very strong for the show. It did feel like a Saturday morning cartoon to me, to be honest.
Definitely.
Completely honest. And then because I believe it's definitely going to get a season 2, I would just like some shading for the characters, and then I did not really like the season finale. I don't know if you want to be spoiled, Nick, for the season finale, but
I mean, since she watched it without me, I'm probably never going to finish it. So
oh no, we can
just be honest. I'm probably never going to watch it, so you can go ahead and spoil me.
Okay, so basically they defeat everybody with a Princess of Rainbow power.
What?
Like they don't they come together and hit everybody with this rainbow wave? Mina,
yeah, because they have
who is everybody?
Okay, so the other princesses, the other princesses show up from the other kingdoms, and they all come together and with She-Ra use this rainbow wave and wipe out the horde
dark thing.
Yeah, the horde. Yeah.
Oh wait, did they kill that one girl who kind of had like that lesbian thing for her?
So I assume you're talking about Catra.
Sure.
No, Catra is definitely not going to be killed off. They're clearly putting her into this like anti. It's a weird vibe that's going on, but no, she survives, and like even though she fails, definitely she gets promoted at the end of the show, which I was annoyed by.
Oh, so they don't win. They don't like defeat the whole horde.
Oh well, technically they defeat the main force of the horde, I guess.
That girl battle? Or that black guy? Not black guy, but like the darkness thing.
Well, they what's his name? I forgot. Hordak. He doesn't actually show up to the battle. It's just Catra and then the horde army, and then is Scorpina there? I believe Scorpina was there.
I believe so.
That's the Scorpion girl that's kind of like really buff and beats people up, right?
Yeah, she's like the princess.
Yeah, she's a Scorpion princess.
Okay, yeah, I follow.
But yeah, all these, and then I didn't understand how the other princesses from like the Ice Princess, she was there. I didn't understand how she found out about this and then came over to help.
Was my favorite character Seahawk there?
Oh, of course.
Of course. They have to push him everywhere.
But because they also came, and I didn't understand how they knew that this attack was happening.
I assume like they sent word to somebody. Like it just, I figure that's what you have to assume because otherwise it makes no sense that all these characters just knew something was going on after half of the princesses decided to leave the alliance.
Yeah, because they broke up very easily and then they came back together. I was like, was the crystals, were they talking to them or something? It was like, oh, there's an attack on this other uh, crystal. I was like,
Co-help.
yeah, I didn't understand what was going on there. But especially the Ice Princess, I was like, why did she come? Because she showed no interest in being with the Alliance or being friends with any of them. And then she was like
Well,
all hugging on them and like, oh yeah, we beat them. I was like, okay, I
her
don't understand
character
this.
arc didn't make sense to me because I
Her
get that,
character didn't make sense to me, period.
I didn't understand why they needed her.
I mean, she was one of the most powerful, to be honest. She
Well, I
controls
get,
like all ice.
but like just the fact that they made her that way is what I don't understand. Like,
Yeah.
I
I
don't think
mean,
they used her appropriately.
no, because like I said, she didn't seem interested in anything they were offering her or anything. Like, oh, become part of the alliance. She was like, no, don't need that. I'll just stay to myself. I was like, okay.
Yeah. And
I
then
mean, the only thing I can see is maybe when the Horde and Catra and Scorpina blew up part of the castle, whatever, that like kind of enraged her to and pushed her towards joining the Princess Alliance. But we never seen that development on screen at all.
exactly.
But
And
like I said, there's some story issues I have with and some things, but I feel like it could be done better in season 2 and everything.
yeah, I definitely think season 2 could bring a lot more like substance to it. Also, I had an issue with like the way they handled Shadow Weaver. I feel like Shadow Weaver's story could have been so much more interesting and then they just kind of I don't know, it kind of just dwindled down to nothing and then
Yeah, I
she
mean
got
because she kept
replaced.
failing and failing technically.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I can see it because I mean I did understand that she was like this weird evil mother figure for everyone. She tried to be anyway,
Mhm.
and the way she taught others were probably wrong because she did play favorites. I mean, even that scene with her and Catra and like I was always trying to make you stronger and blah blah
Right,
blah blah
yeah.
blah. I was like, okay, I see where they're going with this,
Yeah, but
but
I mean,
it
there
was just
are
messed
things
up
I
how she
like
treated
about the
Catra.
show. I like, there's little parts of it that remind me, like you said earlier, like a Saturday morning cartoon, and just there's like, a simple story to follow that's building up to something.
Yeah. Hmm.
There is a lot of that, like, I mean, I also have to remember this is geared for a much younger audience,
True.
but there's like some of this like dumb humor in there that just makes me want to like punch something. Like Bo and Glimmer kill me sometimes.
I still can't stand Glimmer. I I still
She,
don't like her character.
I haven't grown to like her, and I thought I would. I thought they would make her more endearing as it goes on, but I find her to be really whiny and just annoying.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I do applaud them for having consequences for her using her power to break out of the little electrical
Right.
trap she was in.
Yeah, when she
I
was
do applaud them
glitching.
for that.
Hmm.
But
And honestly, like to me, one of the most interesting characters is Catra.
oh yeah, definitely.
Like I'm interested in her story. I'm interested to see what happens to her. I've liked the way like her character's kind of. I mean, the first few episodes, it was just kind of like, why wouldn't you go with your best friend if you really don't care about the horde? But like how they've made her slowly start being invested in like the power and getting acknowledged. Like I kind of like it. I'm interested
Mhm.
to see what happens next season. I feel like Hordak's gonna have a bigger presence.
So are they definitely getting a season 2?
They probably are. I mean, because this is DreamWorks Animation, right? I believe,
Right.
and
I
they
so,
pump out tons of content for Netflix, so I'm
yeah.
pretty sure they get in a season 2.
Oh, that'll be interesting.
Now, I do have some more things to say about She-Ra, but we're gonna go on to the next one. So
Okay.
this is not an in-depth review of each show.
Okay, so I guess I'll go next. So one of the best things I watched this year was definitely going to be to All the Boys I've Ever Loved. It's kind of different. It's a different take on a love story. I thought it was interesting. It's based on this novel by what was her name, Mina?
The author of that one was I'm trying to think. Susan. No, hold on. What was her name? I'm thinking.
Now this one is on my watch list.
Okay, do you want? Okay, so
Lana Condor.
no, her name's Jenny Han. That's her name.
You know.
Lana Condor.
Jenny Han. Lana's the girl who plays.
Lana's the girl who
Margie.
plays. Gotcha. That makes way more sense.
Yeah, no. The book was written by Jenny Han, and it's a trilogy series about them. But I believe the first one is directed by Susan Johnson.
Oh, okay.
It is. It's directed by Susan Johnson. And so basically the premise of this show is, or it's a movie, I guess it's not a show. A teenage girl's secret love letters are exposed, and they wreak havoc on her love life. And I just thought it was really interesting the way they kind of set the whole thing up with like the dynamic of her and the boy she's supposedly in love with, but then not, because she loves this other boy, and then there's this weird dynamic with her sister. So it was never what I expected it to be as I was watching it. It wasn't like the first thing I wanted to watch. Mina obviously wanted to watch it, so I kind of watched it with her. But just kind of sitting and watching it, I thought it was really interesting the way they took this traditional take on a love story and kind of still had all those elements that make it a traditional love story, but changed up the dynamic a little bit.
Okay, so this was more of like a romantic comedy or just a love story?
Definitely like coming of age romantic comedy.
Coming of age romantic comedy. Okay.
But less comedy and more of a love story, I think.
Okay.
Because it wasn't a lot of like the cheap romantic comedy kind of things I feel like happen a lot. It was more of just like a coming of age love story, loving yourself and kind of growing from that.
And it was just refreshing because I feel like half of these movies that depict like high school, like romance or anything like that are so cliche and just unrealistic. Like things happen that just don't happen in real life.
Yeah,
And
because
the
they're
way,
basically fantasies at that point.
oh yeah, it's like complete fantasy and like ridiculous things. And like the way they even handle like prom and all of this other stuff is just insane. And I feel like this movie did such a good job of just making it so real to a point where it's awkward, but you relate a lot to it, and it's got its like funny moments, and there's so many little nuances throughout the film that I was like, oh, that like that happened to me, or I remember something like that in high school. So I felt like it was very realistic. Nothing like too insane happened. Like there was a mean girl in it, and usually they're like super over the top. And I wouldn't say she's not over the top, but she's very like the bad girl in this movie or the nemesis is like girls you knew in high school.
And I thought it was really interesting too. I feel like a lot of these teen movies try to make that bad girl kind of, they want you to like her still in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
So like they try to give her something to flesh the character out a bit. Like in Mean Girls with like Regina George, you're supposed to kind of feel sorry for her.
At the end, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't feel this way about this girl at all in this movie. I felt like she was just the villain, and I thought that was like a refreshing take. And I guess maybe I'm not supposed to feel that way. I don't know, but that's definitely what I got from it. Was that like no, she's just that girl in high school who's a bitch. Like it's plain and simple. She's jealous and she's taking out her frustrations on someone else, and she's a bully. And I think I think the fact that this movie talked about that is really big, because that's a big problem we have going on nowadays is bullying, and the way they addressed it. And they addressed like the whole sexting scandal in this movie and how just like harmful that stuff can be and the expectations that a lot of teens are putting on each other. So just that there's movies out there talking about those types of things are really exciting to me.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't even know they had all that in there.
Yeah, see, and that's crazy because after I watched the movie, I went and read all 3 books. And even though in the movie she didn't care for her, I felt like she was just a villain. The books flesh out the quote unquote bad girl so much, where to a point where you do realize kind of why she is the way she is.
Now,
But
do
it
you think they
doesn't.
would focus more on like the bad girl in like a second movie? If they make a
I
second
think
movie?
so. I think that's where they're heading. In the second movie, and even in the second book, they kind of put a lot of her in the book and the movie. So I feel like in the movie they're going to focus more on that and focus on why she is the way she is.
But to that point, isn't the other boy, his name's Josh, right?
The one that's dating her brother? I mean, her
Josh,
sister?
Jacob, something like that. Yeah, right?
Yeah, Josh is the one that was dating her sister.
Right. Like I feel like in the books he has a much bigger role than he did in the movie.
Yeah, see, that was
So
a big thing too. Like in the movie, I almost felt like, so in the movie, basically without giving too much away, whenever she falls in love or has big feelings for a boy, the main character, Laura Jean, writes a letter to them to kind of get over her crush. And she just, she writes her feelings for them. She like addresses it and then puts it in a box. And by some crazy circumstance, the letters get actually mailed out to these people. And all these guys get these letters and they start confronting her. And she has to deal with the fact that she never confronts her feelings, that she never really goes for anything. She keeps it all hid like inside.
But she has like a good reason for that too, and I think the way the movie sets that up is like it is really realistic in a sense. So it gives her character even more depth for me, is the way they set up why she's so scared to confront her feelings and like the family dynamic that they all have with her and her sisters. So
Right.
it's just, I think that's very interesting.
And in the movie, she's in love, or she had really deep feelings for her sister's boyfriend, and she was really conflicted about it. But in the movie, I always kind of felt like he wasn't that big of a presence. Like maybe it would just been more like a really big crush you had on someone. In the book, it's so fleshed out, and he's such an important part of the book that you realize, yeah, no, she definitely loved him, and like that was a big portion of her life.
Right, and it definitely took me it was kind of different, I thought, because the way the movie started, it seemed like it was kind of going to go the route of The Kissing Booth, which is another Netflix show that was really good this year, but where they kind of had like this best friend relationship, and you like were kind of supposed to think they were going to fall in love, and then kind of circumstances change and they don't. So I kind of thought maybe that's where they were going with him, but then the whole reveal with the letters and how that all kind of played out with that dynamic and what she gets herself into, it was just very different.
Well, I think it works because in real life, like, yeah, you in the fantasies, it's, you fall in love with your best friend, or you fall in love with this one person that's gonna change everything, and like it's the way it's supposed to be, like the boy next door, all the like cliches. So I like the fact that she didn't end up with him.
This is ultimately a cliche because this is like what, the first boy she ever kissed.
Yeah, she does end up with the first boy she ever kissed.
So I mean, that's a cliche.
Interesting.
So it's still got its cliches in it, but I mean, what romantic movie doesn't have cliches in it? I feel like that's like a necessity. Anyways, All the Boys I've Ever Loved, I recommend it. It was pretty good.
Oh, yeah, and then they also already confirmed that the sequel is coming out to All the Boys I've Loved Before.
Correct.
It's coming out, so look forward to that. But I don't know, did they confirm when it was coming out, this year or maybe this year? Probably.
I don't know if they've confirmed it.
Yeah, well, I'm looking right here. They already confirmed it, but I think they released this trailer, didn't
they? Released like that teaser trailer thing.
Yeah, there was a teaser trailer that I remember watching, but I don't think they've released like a date or any kind of time frame.
Yeah, I don't think so. But yeah, that sounds interesting. That's definitely on my watch list. I don't watch a lot of like romantic comedy type movies, but I might actually watch this one.
I think it's pretty good. I would definitely recommend it.
I'm a sucker for two things in life. It's a good romantic comedy and it's trashy reality television. So I highly recommend it.
But I'm going to go to number 3, Castle Rock. Castle Rock was a show on Hulu. It's a Hulu original, and it is based off of Stephen King's works. And I found this show to be one of the better Stephen King adaptations to date, in my opinion, because it deal with this town, and the town is like very normal, but it has weird things going on. And I really did like the actors that were in the show. And it's like a whole mystery that goes on, and you find that this like kid has been imprisoned in the prison by the warden, and you're trying to like the town is trying to figure out why. Well, the main character of the show is trying to figure out why this is happening, and it just goes into this whole like rabbit hole of like strange things one after another happening. And I found this very interesting because they deal with like dementia in the show also, and because the mom has like dementia, and I think it's dementia. Is either I think it's dementia. I think it's dementia. And the main character is like the only black person in town, and how that plays into everything, and like, but they didn't like, so he is like pretty much the only black person in this whole town, but they didn't like rely on that heavily. They didn't really like address that or anything. He was just another person, pretty much.
Okay,
in
they
the
didn't
town.
make it like this is the only, yeah.
Yeah,
So he
they
wasn't
didn't.
like a token black guy.
No, he wasn't. Well, I don't think he can be considered a token black guy since he was the main character. I guess I don't know how that works, but it made sense why he was like the only black person in the town because it was this place is based somewhere in like Maryland up north, so
Okay, yeah.
I don't think there's a lot of black people up there. But the show was very weird and interesting, and like it was like this. It was a different type of horror. It was more like highbrow type horror, I guess. It wasn't like one of those in your face horror jump scare all the time. It was a very slow paced horror building to something, and along the way, strange things are happening, and you're trying to fit the pieces together on what is going on. It was more like a mystery type
So
horror.
was it more like a psychological type?
They Yeah, well, yeah, some of the stuff was psychological because the characters are trying to figure out. I want to call it more of a mystery type thing because the
Hmm.
characters are trying to figure out who is right, who is wrong. Is someone telling the truth? What should I believe? Why were they doing this? And they're trying to fit these puzzle pieces together.
Okay,
And
yeah.
it was some psychological stuff happening because some things were happening and you wasn't sure if that was in the person's head or did they actually see that. So I
That
really did enjoy the show.
that's part of something I really wanted to watch, and I just kept forgetting to watch it.
I highly recommend Castle Rock. If you're a Stephen King fan, especially, this is one of the better adaptations of his work. And Stephen King has like tons of properties in the works right now. Like 12 projects in production.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
he's really seeing a resurgence, and I feel like it's just all basically centered around how well it did.
Oh yeah, well, after people saw it just blew up
Everybody's trying to tap into that well.
again.
Yeah, it's just
But
it's a resurgence of.
Because a
yeah,
lot of the stuff are remakes.
Oh
and it's
So
yeah.
like
amazing though because none of that stuff was really good. I mean, it was cult classic stuff, but
Yep.
nobody was lauding it as like great content. But now it's one of the top horror movies of all time, and
Mhm. Because even before then, I guess the best Stephen King adaptation was The Shining, and
I was
Stephen
gonna say The
King doesn't even like
Shining.
The Shining. Stephen King
Yeah.
literally came out and said he did not like the adaptation of The Shining.
that is a really good. I like that movie. I don't know if it's a good adaptation, but I think it's a very
Well,
well done film.
they say after the book is like completely different, and the book fleshes out the characters a lot more. So I'm like, I guess I just gotta read the book. The only thing I'm scared of is reading the book is that it's just super long, and probably just gonna have to audiobook it instead.
All his books are super long.
Super long.
I did pick up his new one. I think it's called the Outsider. I did pick up that one. That's one of his new ones. I'm gonna try to read that. Try to read the Stephen King book. But I'm not sure if Castle Rock is getting a season 2. Well, oh wait, I think it is because Castle Rock is getting a season 2 because Castle Rock, I believe, is going to be a anthology type show. So this
Oh
season has nothing to do with the next season.
That'll
yeah.
be interesting.
It's interesting that it's done so well because like other TV series that have tried to do it, like Under the Dome. I don't know if you guys remember that one.
So disappointing.
Oh, so disappointing. But
I really did like season 1 and maybe season 2, I think, but then it
mhm.
just fell off. I don't
Oh
know.
gosh, it did, and I really wanted it to do well because I genuinely loved the concept.
Yeah, and then I like the actors that were on the show. It's just the plot. Just I didn't care anymore.
Yeah, and then like I don't know if you guys watched The Mist.
Oh my god, it's a
Oh,
horror show. I watched the first 3 episodes with my father and sister, and we were all sitting there looking at each other like, "What garbage did we just watch?" There was
I was
no
so
interest.
mad. Oh yeah, no, none whatsoever.
This show could have been so good, so much potential, and they wasted it.
Yeah, because the content, like the backstory, everything's great. It's just it was a shit adaptation, really, and I'm so glad they canceled it. I was like, please stop making this.
I don't even know who was there anybody on the set that was looking at the show and was like, this is good. No, there had to be someone who's like, this is garbage. This is complete garbage.
Like we're getting paid for garbage.
Like, I know if I was a producer on the show, I would have been very unhappy. But ending on a good note, Castle Rock, I recommend. That's my number 3 on the list.
Okay, so go back to me. So my number 2 was actually season 2 of Big Mouth. That was my number 2 for 2018. And I don't know, did you end up watching it yet, or have you seen?
I finished season 2.
Okay, so we're all up to date on season 2.
Mhm.
I thought season 1 was great, but season 2 blew it out of the water for me. I thought it was so creative, and it talks about super important things, and it covered so much. Obviously, there are a few issues, like, I don't understand the whole storyline between Jay and his inanimate objects that talk to him.
I mean, I understand where they're going with it. It's just extremely jarring and creepy, in my opinion.
See, I disagree
Yeah.
with both of you.
Okay.
And a Big Mouth. I'm going to talk about Big Mouth a little bit more too, because it was the number one thing I actually watched in 2018. So I'm going to kind of keep my comments short here. But basically, how I see Jay and all of his inanimate objects are, it's a human being searching for someone to care about him. He's created these imaginary figures that love him. His parents don't love him. His dad is absent. His mother, as we see throughout season 2, really is a terrible mother and kind of a terrible human. So he's just finding enjoyment in things. I mean, I think to a certain extent, almost all boys are curious about sex when they're that age, and they're curious about masturbation and all these kind of things. I mean, even Jay and Nick are. They just take it out in a different way. So that's what he's doing. But he's also trying to find things to nurture him, things that he finds comfort in, pillows, bath mats, things that are soft, that kind of thing. And then even when he gets into that relationship with Jesse and they're kind of doing their thing together in this season, but then he still has this fear of abandonment, and so he's still developing these feelings and projecting them onto inanimate objects.
No, like, I totally understand that, and I think it's really, it's just the way they present it sometimes is so unsettling.
Yeah, that's how I feel. Because
It
I understand all that. Also, it's just unsettling to watch
Right.
happen on screen.
Which is saying something about me, because I don't find, like, anything else unsettling on that show, which I probably should.
I mean, yeah, it's a show about hormones.
But the
Yeah,
show is surprisingly relatable, in my opinion.
it is, and I don't know what age it's really geared like, what are their target audience?
Yeah, what is that show target audience, to be honest?
Because I mean, honestly, a lot of it is adult humor, but then sometimes I wonder, like, is this geared for teenagers, or?
I think it's geared for us, mainly our demographic, millennials, but it's also geared as something for millennials to kind of, if they're kind of on the more upper age, show their children and kind of begin those talks about sex and about puberty and the birds and the bees, that kind of thing. Because I think there wasn't a whole lot of that information for our generation, at least not on TV or anything. So
Of
it's
course
the
not.
creator trying to give our generation a way to talk about those things more openly. I mean, they did the way they structure their episodes, the things they talk about. That's what I get from it.
Yeah, I just don't know. Like, I mean, it would depend on, like, my child's maturity level, I think, because some of the stuff is a little out there. But it all
Yeah,
depends, because, like, as a kid, my parents probably wouldn't have let me watch it, just because, the cussing and, like, just, like, the jokes and just how openly they talk, like, bags of dicks everywhere, and
Well, I mean, how young are you letting a child watch it? That's not what I'm saying either. But what
I think this is
10,
more like
11
a
going through puberty can't watch that? Why? They're experiencing those things.
I think that's an
true.
individual thing, but
Yeah,
I feel like this is more of a teenager type show ish
for
type
sure.
thing going on. Yeah, because
Because I can't.
to be honest, I probably let my teenager watch this or something like that if I watched it with him.
Because,
Because
like,
this
oh, sorry,
it
go
is
ahead.
like a funny way to start the conversation. I think.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a good conversation starter. Um, Again, I think it just depends on an individual's maturity level, and, like, if they're gonna understand what's going on. But I definitely loved in season 2 how they handled the whole, like, depression kind of episode arc. I thought it was done
Mhm.
so well, and just, like, the way they did the whole like depression kitty or whatever she was called, and they described it perfectly and just the way it makes you feel. I thought it was done super, super well.
My question is so after the episode, the depression kitty is not coming back in season 3, or are they done with that whole thing?
I don't know. I
I'm not
saw it
sure. I wasn't
more.
sure.
I think it would be better if it does come back, but she doesn't let it ruin her. Like, I think it'd be a better message if you know it's still there, but she chooses to actively go against it. But I have
Because wouldn't it make sense if the depression kitty comes back in season 3? Because what's his name? The one of them has the female sex hormone monster now.
yeah. I think is it Nick that has it?
I think it's Nick, isn't it Nick?
Yeah, it is Nick.
Yeah, Nick has
Because
gone
Andrew
through
has
his.
Maury or Maurice or whatever.
Yeah.
So it makes sense if it comes back and she's with the depression kitty now, I guess. And I find it very interesting that he got a female hormone monster at the end. I'm not sure if they're trying to, in my opinion, I think they're trying to set up that he's going to become gay or something like that in the next season. But I mean, we already have a gay character, so I don't know if that.
He's bi. Oh yeah, we do have a gay character. I forgot about the gay character.
Yeah, so he might be bi. Yeah, he might be.
No, we have a bi character because.
Oh, we do. Oh, Jay.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Jay.
Jay.
Right?
Jay is bi.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know if they were trying to say like trans or something else. Or
yeah, it might be something like that. Maybe.
See, you had both mentioned that in like an off-air conversation we had about it, and I didn't get that at all. I just kind of got that it was a different. It's like how there's like some super macho men and then some men that aren't super macho.
I mean, his father's not super macho at all. His
oh
father is like very.
Exactly. So I wonder if that plays more of a role in it than anything.
Mm-hmm.
I want to.
He's gonna be like understand his father more because like I said, his father is very feminine.
Right. So I think it's gonna be more that thing. What I really want them to kind of dive more into is how many other people have had to go through multiple hormone monsters. How common of a theme is that? What is that? Does that have any role if they do decide to go the transgender or the gay route? How that kind of plays into it? Yeah. Or like the fact that Jay doesn't need doesn't need a hormone monster.
No, Jay's his own hormone monster.
Like it literally made sense when they said it. He is literally his own. I was like, that makes complete sense. He wants to have sex with everything and experiment. Like, I was like, this makes sense.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But it makes sense, but then it also doesn't, and I guess that's just like me overanalyzing a TV show. Because
it's like it's a joke cartoon show, so it's not like
because like clearly there has to be a little board in his head running everything.
True.
Which I thought was a very funny take on Inside Out. I don't know if that's what they were going for, but that's definitely how it spoke to me when they did it. It's like they were making fun of Inside Out.
Yeah, this is like the raunchy version of Inside
Out.
Yeah.
This is the potential Disney had.
No, Disney would never touch something like this.
Oh God, no.
Yeah, John Lasseter would have. He touched everything.
Oh. So, moving on.
Too soon? Anyways, so the second best thing I watched in 2018, funny, here we go, another romantic comedy. So Set It Up. So what Set It Up is it's basically these two young assistants who live in New York, and their lives kind of suck. They're overworked by their bosses, and they meet one day at work, and they're both kind of talking and figuring out why their lives suck, and they both get this great idea that if they set their bosses up, their lives are going to get better, because if their bosses are fucking, then they'll have more time to kind of be with their respective significant others, and they'll just be genuinely less stressed. And this kind of works out for a while for them, and they're kind of really happy about it. And I thought that's where the movie was going, and I was like, okay, this is cool. But then about halfway through the movie, it throws a couple curveballs at me. So I thought that was really interesting. It's another romantic comedy, but it's probably one of the better romantic comedies I've seen in a long time. I feel like we've been stuck in this Nicholas Sparks era for way too long, where it's like, okay, here's the love story. We're set in some mythical place. They're not really mythical, but it's like, okay, these men are perfect. These women are perfect. There's no flaw in any of these characters. There's no real motivation. They're just like, oh, I'm the guy and I work at this hardware store and you're the cute girl who's running away from her family and I'm going to protect you. And this movie didn't really have none of that. It was really, really organic, and it was just two people who find each other trying to set something else up, they end up setting themselves up, and I thought it was really cool. Did either of you see this?
Yeah. No, I haven't seen it yet. This one's still on my list.
It's on my list. I haven't seen it because you saw this one without me.
Yeah, this one.
But when you were describing it to me, it sounds hilarious.
It really is, and I mean, it's got good actors and actresses in it. It's got Zoe Dutch in it, Lucy Liu, who I love, Taye Diggs. So there's some. Pete Davidson's got like a weird role in it. I know he's kind of controversial to talk about now, but
wait, why?
Because that whole Ariana Grande thing, and he's like crazy, not a. I don't know.
Oh, didn't he do that whole like note, like suicide note type thing going on also?
Well, yeah, they said he was going to kill himself, and then she tried to go talk to him. He didn't want to talk to her. I mean,
interesting.
So, but it's really a different take. It's another different take on the romantic comedy, and I found it good.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to find a weekend to sit down and watch some romantic comedies because I do feel like there has been a void of romantic comedies in the last like 3, 4 years or something like that.
I mean, sure. There really has. Besides 50 Shades, what else has there been?
Oh yeah,
I would not call that a romantic comedy.
Yeah, 50 Shades is not really. I don't feel like it's a romantic comedy.
It's more like but that's like what's been trying to fill the role. I mean, it's what comes out on Valentine's Day every year.
Yeah, it's like a softcore porn type thing going on.
I don't know about that either, but that's another conversation.
Twilight reimagined and repackaged.
When you told me that, it blew my mind.
Yeah, I really didn't believe it at first, and then I was like, "Oh my god, it is."
Oh yeah. If you go into it and you watch it with Twilight in mind, it blows your mind.
Like I found this article one day, and it was like literally text for text sometimes out of Twilight, and I was like, "This is insane." But yeah, no. So I definitely think you guys should Set It Up out. It's good.
Okay. So my second pick for 2018 is going to be Devilman Crybaby. That came out at the beginning of 2018. Now, this show is based off of a Japanese anime and manga that came out like, what was it? Yeah, 1987. The anime came, the manga came out, I think, in 1987. But this is based off of an older show, Devilman Crybaby. But the Devilman Crybaby was talk about adult animation. This was very adult animation. The first episode, I believe you get like boobs and drugs and sex, and it's very adult. And I would tell, if you're interested in like more adult animation, I would recommend watching this, but I would say be mentally prepared for the show because it does deal with heavy things about humanity and what we do to other people and things like that. So
very twisted.
Yeah, it's very
yeah,
it's very twisted and a take on humanity and survival and how we treat each other and stuff like that. And it's a very I love the show because this is one of the few shows that like almost brought me to the brink of tears by the end of the season. I was not mentally prepared for a show like this at all.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I recommend Devilman Crybaby if you want more of a adult animation. This is straight up not for kids at all. None of the material in here is for kids.
I might have to check that one out actually.
Yeah, I recommend it. Like
I just remember like I said, seeing, just be like prepared. Stills of it on Tumblr and people talking about certain scenes and being like, "Oh, like this really like fucked me up."
Oh yeah, this show will mess with your mind during certain scenes because it just gets very. I did not expect the show to get so heavy and dark towards the end, but it gets very heavy and dark towards the end. The ending was like, wow. Did not think they were gonna go there, but they did. It ends very dark.
Are they gonna have a season 2 for that, or?
Now I haven't heard anything, but the way it ended, I don't think they can have a season 2 based on the way it ended. Now they could, but I don't know how that would work.
Well, now I'm interested. I want to go watch this.
Yes, I recommend it. Just be prepared and know that you're going into a show about the darkness in humanity and things like that. It does not pull its punches at all. It shows you everything.
Mentally prepared.
But yeah, my number 2 is Devilman Crybaby.
Okay, so my number 1 was To All the Boys I've Ever Loved. So we've kind of already covered that, and it was for the same reasons. I think it was a good coming of age story, a good love story, it had good family relationships. I genuinely felt happy after watching it. So that's pretty much all I got to add to it. I think we covered a lot of it before.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of
that.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that I am looking forward to watching these romantic comedies that y'all have on y'all list, because I think Netflix and like Amazon and Hulu and stuff, this is going to be those are going to be the platforms for romantic comedies to come back in full force, or some type of force.
Yeah, because like you've seen a resurgence of it between To All the Boys I've Ever Loved, The Kissing Booth, and what was the other one Netflix did? Sarah Burgess is a Loser, and Set It Up.
We're not going to talk about Sarah Burgess as a loser.
Yeah, I would not recommend that one. There's
fundamental issues with that program, but that's not what this is about. So, anyways, getting into the top thing I watched, I mentioned it earlier. It's Big Mouth Season 2. I really, really liked that show. I like what it represents. I like the conversations it creates. I mean, and I thought Season 1 was really, really good. It was one of the best things I had watched up until I watched Season 2, and I didn't think they were going to outdo themselves. I thought they were going to kind of fall into that Season 2 kind of hangover some shows fall into, but they didn't. They kind of came out on top. They dove even deeper than I thought they were going to dive. I thought that was really cool. I mean, just with like the overall arc of the season I thought was really good, but just what they talked about like on individual episode basis is, I mean, being comfortable with your body. They had a whole episode about boobs and like shapes of them and sizes, and just like the way they tackled that, the way they've tackled Jesse's relationship with her parents and her mother turning into a lesbian, and like having a relationship with a teacher of hers, and just kind of her feelings about that, and how that all led to her depression and how they built to it. I thought that was remarkable. Just and the struggles that Nick and Andrew kind of go through, and with like their bodies and with girls, and like Andrew when he gets into that whole weird relationship with Missy, and how he's like unsure how to deal with that in there, and you kind of get to see that other dynamic that I don't think television talks about a lot, but it's where it's the man in the weaker role.
Yeah, true.
He kind of feels dominated and pressured to do things, but at the same time he's still just a horny 7th or 8th grade or whatever grade he's in, so he's kind of confused by all of that. Then the biggest thing I think they did, they made a whole fucking episode about Planned Parenthood. And they talked about all of the good things Planned Parenthood did, and they repeatedly knocked back the stereotype that people want to shove down our throats that Planned Parenthood is an abortion factory. I mean, characters even said it in the show. Oh, well, Planned Parenthood's an abortion factory. And they just blew that all out of the water with the skits. I thought that was so creatively done. I love the character of Coach Steve. He's ridiculous, but I love how they've kind of made him work so far in the show, kind of his dynamic and all the stuff he gets into later in the season with Jay. I think that's really cool. It's a really interesting take on the teacher-mentor dynamic, I think, and I really liked that. But no, yeah, that Planned Parenthood episode was greatness. And then the way they even tied it all in with showing us the parents' dynamic and relationships, like that's not something I would have expected from this show, so that was something I was really, really interested by. Drugs, they talked about drugs this season. That was awesome. Just kind of things I feel like teenagers need to talk about, kind of like how Dion was talking about how he thinks a lot of this show's built kind of towards teenagers. I think it's great that there's somebody out there making content that talks about these things, because they're real issues in society and things that people are dealing with every day. So the fact that we have people talking about them on television, even if it's in kind of a comedic way, it's nothing in the show is ever like comedic just to be comedic. It's comedic to kind of carry home a larger message. There's a lot of morality in this show, I think, even though it's not a very moral show, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. Now, I do want to talk about Coach Steve, because so season 1, I've talked to y'all about this. I hated him. I hated that character so much. I feel like he served no purpose to anything. He was just there to be a joke. But I do like how they did it in season 2. He actually, well, he interacted with the kids and helped their story. You know,
Right,
he
right.
contributed. I was like, thank you for having. If you're gonna make a joke character, at least don't have him just sit there and make stupid lines every 5 seconds. Have him have a purpose on the show, and like he's talking to the kids about something or he's learning something. I feel like Coach Steve was wasted in season 1. I completely hated the character. I wish the character would have been written out the show in season 2. But the season 2, I feel like they redeemed Coach Steve to me. It made sense why he was there for the kids and his story along with their story and how they interacted. You know, it made sense.
And even getting his backstory, I thought was really interesting, because to me it explains a lot of why he is the way he is.
Yeah,
definitely.
So I do feel like they readjusted Coach Steve's character to be actually part of the kid's story and just not this character that's off on the side doing one-liners or dumb jokes every 10 seconds to lighten the mood. Because I hated that so much in season 1. But I did want to ask a question. Did y'all think they ever went too far in season 2? Because season 2, in my opinion, was they went a little bit farther than they did in season 1, in my opinion. But in my opinion, I don't think, I'm just playing devil advocate here, just asking a question. Do y'all ever think that they went too far in season 2?
I mean, okay, so season 1, is that the one that ended in that weird, like, porn dimension?
That was in season 2.
Yeah, that ended in season 1.
Okay.
That was season 1? Okay.
That porn dimension with, like, the goats and everything, like, the whole weird, like, I don't know. For something to go further than that.
Now, are you talking about the porn dimension with Sylvester Stallone?
Yeah, when he's stuck in, like, the porn world and they go to, like, rescue him.
Yeah, that was the end of season 1.
That was the end of season. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty graphic. It was. I don't think they went too far, but like, so for season 2, after seeing season 1, I didn't feel like anything was too far, I guess would be.
I don't know what too far would be for this show.
Well, I would say too far is probably having a joke at the expense of I mean, they do that a lot, but like it really doesn't help the character or show anything. It's just a joke they threw in there and it just like makes the character look bad, in my opinion. I think that would be probably too far.
Okay, yeah, I see that. I think that's one of the things I really like about the show. I think they've done such a good job of not doing that. Of having every joke have a payoff and have a meaning, that I don't know if they would ever do that. I think you're right, though. I think that might be going far in a sense, but that's what I really liked about the show. I mean, this show went farther this season than I thought it was going to.
Did.
I mean, when we got into all the boob stuff, I didn't think they were going to show us all those boobs.
Nope.
I didn't think. We saw Jesse's genitalia. We saw a vagina. We talked to a vagina on a show on Netflix.
A child, really, or I guess like a tween.
Yeah, she's like in like middle school, and we like there was like, I mean, it's animation, I get that, but that's far.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
and I thought that added such an interesting dynamic. Something else I forgot to talk about earlier: the Shame Wizard character.
Oh, love it.
I really liked it. I liked the voice actor they got for him. I liked it.
Because the voice actor they used, isn't he in Harry Potter?
Yeah, he's Professor Lupin.
Yeah, he's Remus Lupin in Harry Potter.
Amongst other things. I mean, I'm sure he's a much more famous actor than we're giving him credit for.
Yeah, of course, probably.
No, he's been in everything. If you think about it, he's been The Kingdom. He's been in a lot of things.
Yeah, he's like a renowned British actor. I'm gonna butcher his name right now. David Thewlis?
Probably something close to that.
Something close to that. But yeah, like he was great, and like the way they just kind of did his character, I thought was really interesting. It's like every character in this show has a purpose. And I think that's really rare for animation, at least. I mean, just think about all the mindless characters you have on shows like The Simpsons and Family Guy. And
no, that's just like pure dumb entertainment. It's not really trying to say anything. Well, they do have some episodes that try to say anything. Sometimes they do try to say something, but I feel like majority of the time they're not really.
Exactly, and I mean, like, and that's the kind of category I would put this show in, is like one of those kind of more adult animation shows. I mean, to me, this is the next best thing after Rick and Morty, and Rick and Morty's like the holy grail right now in TV animation. So,
speaking of Rick and Morty, that's supposed to be coming back supposedly in 2019. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We know how infamous they are for their freaking production schedule. So we'll see. But anyway, Big Mouth season 2, best thing I saw in 2018.
Okay, I have one more question for y'all for Big Mouth season 2. Do you think how do y'all like the animation style? Would you have preferred more of a She-Ra type animation style towards this show, or do y'all like this, the weird, big-headed people that they decided to go with
I like
more
it because it almost
Western?
has like the suspension of reality
Yeah.
aspect. I enjoy the animation style.
Yeah, I think the animation style fits perfectly.
Okay. That's all I wanted to know. Because I do hear some people complain in the animation side of the community, like, Big Mouth is just an ugly show to look at.
It
Like,
is.
the animation
Like,
is just not
like
good.
they're all ugly if you think about it. Like
No, they are not all ugly.
Who would you say is not ugly?
I gotta think of her name right now. The girl with the boobs.
Oh, the one
Oh.
played by Gina Rodriguez?
Yeah, she's not ugly.
But like the animation, what I'm saying is that it's not like a pretty, like I'm used
Oh,
to
no,
a
it's
lot
not.
of like Japanese, like I'm used to a lot of anime style.
Right.
Everything's really pretty, everything's crisp.
It
It's very
doesn't
Western.
necessarily look professionally drawn at all. I mean,
No, I think it's a very Western type drawn show.
I'm not an expert on
Yes.
animation style, but no, yeah, I definitely. But I think that almost gives it a character too, because it literally then just looks like something that all these guys who are friends who decided to make a television show, they like drew it themselves. I know they didn't draw it themselves, but that's kind of the vibe I get from it. I guess it's like, okay, this is something we wanted to talk about, and here it is. We're doing it. It's not prim and proper and professional.
I just hate looking at
Yeah.
their mouths. Like,
Their big mouths.
it bothers me.
Roll credits.
Basically. Okay, well, I guess onto my list. My number one for top things I've watched in 2018 is going to be Haunting on Hill House. Now, this is the basic premise of this show was it's a family who moves into a house, and the house pretty much haunts them throughout their lives, and it's just showing the dynamic of how this house is playing tricks and things with the family, and you're trying to unravel what is actually happening to this family. And the reason I really like this show is because it wasn't a traditional like haunting house type movie. The characters actually they do a flashback thing where the characters are in present day, grown up already, adults working on their jobs, and then they like flash back to when they were kids living in a house, and it's showing how the house is like influencing their lives, and how like what creepy ghost things are happening, and what they're trying to figure out. Why is this happening? Is this real? Are we just hallucinating? Is all that stuff that happened in the past even real? And stuff like that. I found the show very refreshing in that term, in terms of it's not a traditional just haunted house type movie.
Right. And I think it was based off of a book.
Yes, it is based off a book, but I did when I was listening to listen to another podcast, and they were basically saying that it is based off a book, but the show has nothing to do with the book, pretty much.
Okay, so it's definitely
it's completely
like very
different.
loose type.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only tie-in I think they actually had was like, I think they said like a few lines, and then maybe at the beginning, because at the beginning of the show, I forgot what the brother name is, but one of the brothers is an author, and he writes a book named Haunting on Hill House. But like that's the only references I think from the book
From the actual
to
thing. Okay.
the show. And I really did find that I really found that each sibling in the family was very interesting. Everybody in the family was interesting to me. Nobody was really left out and was like, I don't really feel for this character. They didn't have really a lot of screen time. Everybody did well in this show, and I appreciated the acting a lot.
Yeah, I know Elizabeth Reeser's in it, and she was the one. I know she did like Twilight and Young Adult. She did a couple things that I watched her in. I think she plays Shirley.
Yeah,
the oldest one. Mm-hmm.
And she did.
But
They did a fantastic job acting wise.
and did you think that the younger counterparts to the older ones matched up pretty well?
The they did match up pretty well. Nobody really felt out of place. There were some that was like really close. They're like that could be their child type look
Okay.
alike. So the child casting was really good to their adult counterparts. So that was fantastic. And then they also had this whole thing where like certain like each kid or whatever had like certain abilities per se.
Ooh, okay. Mm-hmm.
And it also explores like how each kid has their abilities and how that the house affects their abilities and stuff like that. And they get this from the mom side of the family, I believe. And it is I was not expecting them to have like certain abilities or whatever, but
Mm-hmm.
it organically works into the story, surprisingly.
Okay, so it doesn't feel just like a random add-in.
No, it
It
doesn't.
flows naturally.
Yeah, it doesn't feel jarring that they have like these supernatural type. It is nothing too crazy where someone's like, oh, I'm psychic and I can lift a rock. It's not. It doesn't go that
Right.
far. They
Okay.
just have these feelings and stuff like that. And I'm like, that works. It works in this world they built anyway. Now, the only thing I have a question about in the show is like the ending. I kind of felt on the ending, but I understood what they were trying to go for because the ending they the ending was kind of crazy to be honest, but they didn't actually destroy. It was like a bittersweet type ending because they didn't actually destroy the house like I thought they were going to.
Okay.
They just pretty much was like, and this happens throughout the whole show. They just were trying to make sure nobody went to the house because the house is like a entity and stuff like that. But you watch it, you'll find out. I really enjoy Haunting on Hill House. It was a surprise, and the show has one of the best jump scares I've ever seen in any form of media. Period.
Oh wow.
It's
Okay.
a jump scare that not only serves it pushes the plot forward for the characters and the scene. And I was like, that is the most thoughtful jump scare I've ever seen in my life. And I really appreciated that.
That's definitely refreshing compared to today, where normally everything is just a pointless jump scare that has no meaning whatsoever.
Yeah, we went through that whole period, especially with Paranormal Activities when
Oh
they
my
first
gosh.
started, and then every
Yeah.
movie had like jump scares, and it was like the jump scare phenomenon. And I was like, oh my god, because the jump scares served nothing just to be a jump scare.
Hey, Paranormal Activity made a ton of money off of those jump scares.
Of course, the first movie made gangbusters. They were able to make like 6 more movies after that just off the first one.
Yeah. It was insane. Because even if I think about it, like other movies like Insidious and all of them, it really was a lot of jump scares.
Insidious, I feel like they had jump. Okay, some of the movies had more jump scares than others, but
Like
I like the jump scares in Insidious, the first one
the
anyway.
the first one was done really well. I feel like those all got me pretty well, but after a while they were a little not
Samey,
unnecessary, but they were yeah, I just felt like I was watching the same over and over.
yeah, I understand that. But yeah, that's my number one, Haunting on Hill House. So,
Okay.
did anybody have honorable mentions? I know I had 2.
I had one for like something that we normally wouldn't watch that I actually really enjoyed that came out this year. So I guess do you want me to go first or you want to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat. It is a food documentary that was released by Netflix based off a book. And I enjoy watching documentaries a lot. I watch a lot of food documentaries. Nick does not usually enjoy them.
I hate documentaries. I don't see the point in them really, which is really weird because I love biographies. So it's like I don't understand why I don't like that translation over in media. But I did watch this one, and I would kind of have to concur. It was definitely the best documentary I watched in 2018. So I guess I could honorably mention it for that.
It's a 4-part documentary, and they go over like the 4 basic elements in cooking, which is salt, fat, acid, and heat, and how cooking shapes humanity and culture and brings people together. And it was shot so beautifully. Like the production value and quality is just out of this world, and it's cohesive and it has really good moments. And I actually think people should watch it.
That's cool because I was thinking about getting into it. Well, I have been watching like some PBS documentaries on Amazon Prime,
Hmm.
so I might actually look at. And this one is on what, Netflix?
This one was on Netflix. It's
Netflix.
based off of a book, and it's really cool because you learn a lot of different things. It goes from, you feel like you go through like a world travel. It's not just like one person's culture and basic view of cooking. It covers the whole gamut.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting how he cut all the places he traveled to and the foundations of cooking and how cooking has evolved so much, but at its essence, it's still those basic four things. And it's four things I never really would have thought about in cooking. And they might be pretty common, but I definitely wasn't thinking about them.
Okay, yeah, I might have to look into that because I've watched documentaries on. It was like a few months ago. I started watching the PBS documentaries on Prime. That was mostly like I've watched one on what makes depression, how depression came to be, and then I watched one on like disease, on like different types of deadly diseases that we've come across, and then I watched one on how humans evolved. So I've been watching a few documentaries this year, but they've been basically PBS documentaries. But I always found those to be interesting. Now the food ones I always found to be hard to watch. To be honest, if you're talking about like Food Inc. or something like that, those are
Those are hard.
quite
But like
hard to watch.
another really good food one is Cooked, which is by Michael Pollan, and his talks about fire, water, air, and earth. So like each episode, on different way people use fire to cook meat, and how like as humans we really evolved because we learned to cook meat, and um, the way water's incorporated into everything, and air, and it's done really well as well. And they're both actually the girl from Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat is part of Cooked because they're all
Okay.
they run in the same social circle. So like it's a really neat tie-in. I think they're both worth watching. I learned a lot from both of them.
Actually, I lied. I do have an honorable mention for
Go
2018.
ahead.
I just thought of it. It wasn't something I actually watched in 2018. I recently just watched it like the other day. But it's
Oh.
Baby. It's that new Netflix show. It actually came
Okay.
out in 2018, so it's relevant. But oh my god, that was one of the most interesting things I've ever watched in my life.
And it was a foreign type thing, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Foreign show.
it's based on a true story too, which I didn't know until afterwards when I was kind of looking in to try and see if I was going to get a season 2, just because the way it ends is so gripping. But yeah, so it's an Italian show. It's dubbed, and it's dubbed, but the dub's kind of weird, so the subtitles and the dub don't match. And these two know me very well. I don't like to do anything where I have to read. I like refuse to consume media where I have to read. But the fact that it was dubbed kind of gave me an edge. I was able to watch it. But the easiest way for me to describe it is it's like Gossip Girl meets The Hills meets the OC, and it's only 6 episodes. It's short,
Okay.
but it is a rocket ship from start to finish. Like the first episode, it's kind of like that slow build of the whole 10, 9, 8, blah blah blah, all the way to 1 before the rocket blows up into the air or whatever. But after that, it is just it's adrenaline. It's interesting because it's just like it's supposed to be that typical story about the rich girl in the posh neighborhood or whatever, but it's really, really good. I would highly recommend it. I don't want to give too much away about it because I know you guys haven't seen it yet, but it is just wow. It was wow.
Okay, cool. That does sound interesting. I might be now the only dub show I've watched on besides anime, the only dub show I've watched on Netflix is like the 3%. That's the only dub show, and I really do like the 3%. But that's been out for like a few years, I think.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's been out for a little while.
This might be the only thing I've watched that's dubbed.
Well, on Netflix so far.
Yeah, or even just like.
Well, unless you're talking about like like animated stuff. You watch a lot of dubbed animated stuff.
So
like,
I don't know.
So the animated stuff I watch with you guys most of the time, that's dubbed. That's not just translated, like redone for English, kind of like Pokemon.
Well, that is a dub.
Pokemon's a dub.
Yeah, Pokemon's a dub. Most of the things we watched, I think we had dubs.
Pokemon was like That's wild. Okay, I would never have guessed Pokemon was a dub.
Like Sailor Moon, like when we were kids, the English dub and like
That was a
Crystal.
dub.
Yeah, those are all dubs.
those all dubs.
I thought that was all like original English content that they had like just
Nope.
like reanimated and hired English people to do.
No,
I mean, some things might have been cut out and then lost in translation or changed from translation, and then some things in animation might have been cut out due to censorship. But yeah, it's a dub.
Well, that's like it took me forever to realize that like Power Rangers was like half dubbed and like they inputted all those scenes from the Japanese show. I never knew that until I was like 15.
Yep. I didn't know that till later on either. I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's crazy that they just like took these scenes and then just repurposed them for over here.
And as a kid, it seemed so seamless. Like,
yeah, it did.
But yeah. Anyways, that was a tangent. I apologize.
Oh, you good. So I guess I'll just go ahead and say both my honorable mentions. My first one is going to be Stranger Things season 2. Really enjoy Stranger Things season 2. I didn't think it was as good as the first season, but I still enjoyed it. And season 3 is coming out 2019.
I was gonna say, it comes out next year, or I guess this
I've
year.
never seen an episode of that show.
You haven't? I mean, I recommend it. Just watch the first season. If you don't like first season, then you're probably not gonna like the second season. So
I feel like it's something that you might not like. I think you're gonna question too much.
See, it's
one of those kid adventures. I think
I've never seen any of it, but I'm like relatively spoiler free.
Then I would definitely go for it.
I know like some characters' names. I know one of the monsters' names. That's about it. I know that that Steve guy ends up doing something really cool in season 2, and people didn't like him in season 1. But that's like all I know.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I enjoy the show. I also enjoy the themes of the show because I'm really a sucker for like kid like group adventure type movies or TV shows. And then I'm also a sucker for like horror stuff. So they also have the whole horror and then like the government conspiracy stuff in it. It just like hit all the right notes for me, and I really enjoy Stranger Things for that.
Is it largely like original content? Does it have source material?
I don't think it has any source material. I don't think so.
Because I wonder if this is something that like they can go ahead and make like 5 seasons of it. I can stay relatively spoiler free, and then I could be like that dude over at Potterless and just do my own podcast about Stranger Things.
I'm pretty sure there's like tons of Stranger Things podcasts already.
Well, that's annoying.
Yeah, that's a huge market, actually.
That's my shot at fame, guys. Thanks for knocking down my dreams.
I know. I mean, you can still do it. I'm not downing you.
I appreciate your support.
Live your truth, man.
All right, what was the other honorable mention for you, D?
The other honorable mention is Castlevania Season 2. Talking about adult animation again. This is straight up for adults. Yes. Castlevania Season 2 just picks up where Season 1 left off. And this is based off of a video game from a long time ago. I don't know. When did Castlevania even release the first video game?
80s? Before that? I don't even know.
Basically spurred on like a whole genre.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed the show. I really enjoyed the characters. And the whole like medieval type vampires versus humans type lore that they had. And then also they focused this season more on the Dracula type Dracula party, the army of Dracula.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt that was very interesting because it showed you, I mean, in the first season, you found out why Dracula was doing all this. But this season, it showed you, like, Dracula, why he was so tired of this, why he really felt that all humans have to be, like, killed off pretty much, or while he was waging his war against the humans. And it really, like, humanized Dracula more. And there was, like, a whole political thing going on inside the show that really intrigued me. And, like, there is, like, people were, like, politically trying to backstab each other in the party of, in the vampire party, pretty much. And I was like, that's very interesting. And then the animation was just beautiful, period. In my opinion, I feel like the animation was just on another level.
It's gorgeous. I've seen the stills and stuff, and it is beautiful.
And I'm very happy. I am happy where it ended because it left it open for season 3, and you can speculate where they could go with the story. because this show does have source material from the video games and whatever mangas or everything they brought out.
There was
So
like a
it has
movie they
a
made and
lot
everything.
of source material.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for season 3 whenever that comes out. So adult animation, Castlevania, I highly recommend it. And then Stranger Things, if you want a fun kids adventure, I recommend Stranger Things season 2. But I guess we can go on to the next segment.
Okay. So top anticipated, The Umbrella Academy, which I believe comes out on Netflix. Chilling Adventures of Sabrina season 2. Carmen Sandiego, even though I think it's more of a kids show, and V Wars. I believe they're all coming out on Netflix.
Okay. So I did see I think, didn't they just release a new trailer for Carmen Sandiego?
Yep.
I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
And then me and my sister were talking about it yesterday on like the history of Carmen Sandiego, because I did not know the history of Carmen Sandiego, but it was a video game back when we were growing up that I pretty much didn't know about. And then it was like a TV show, and then it had it was a kids trivia TV show learning about like the globe and where everything is. And then it had a cartoon show. And I really want to see the cartoon show because she looked pretty awesome in the cartoon show back then.
Oh,
and I think it was just some probably more little video game type things. But the show looked interesting. I'm very interested in watching Carmen Sandiego because it looks like
I remember that as a
it's a good
kid.
mix between like kid and it's more on like that She-Ra type level. Like it's probably geared towards kids, but it's like maybe it's informational. I didn't see that this show was going to be very informational, like teaching the kids on like, oh, we're in this part of the world. This is blah blah blah. You know, back then that's what Carmen Sandiego was about. Oh, this is, you know, you learned in the show. Oh, you're in Brazil, and this is what they're known for, and this is what they're going to steal, and stuff like that. But I feel like back then when we was growing up in like the late '90s and 2000s, those shows are very teach heavy, informational type shows for kids. I don't know if the show is going to be like that. This show seemed, from the trailer I saw, seemed more fun and actiony.
Right. But either way, it just reminded me of when we were younger, and I was like, this seems like worth giving a shot.
Oh, I'm definitely giving this one a shot. Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, I have not seen the first season yet, I've seen part of the Christmas special, but I kind of spoiled myself, so haven't really watched it. But I do need to watch first season. I'm highly interested, and it's very interesting that it was supposed to be on the CW and then went to Netflix. I found that very interesting.
Yeah, especially because it's still in the world of Riverdale. So
yeah, because the characters can cross over, I'm guessing, whatever contract stipulations there is, but I feel like they can cross over.
I believe they're working on a crossover.
Oh, interesting.
Because I believe it's all through the same production company. And
okay.
CW ultimately has the rights to all those characters. They're just licensing it through Netflix. Okay.
Now, what is the Umbrella Academy? I haven't heard that one yet.
Okay, so I saw this on Nick's list too, so I don't know if he wants to go into it.
So I'm not entirely sure. I just saw the trailer for it and it looked really good, and I kind of looked into it a little bit. So what I've got is kind of just like a broad overview of it. So it's billionaires adopting 7 kids who were conceived mysteriously. I believe there's like this weird thing where 46 women get pregnant, like just mysteriously, and nobody knows why, and nobody knows how they're connected except for the fact that they're all just mysteriously pregnant at the same time. And then this billionaire adopts 7 of them, and then the billionaire dies, and it brings the remaining kids, I believe there's 6 of them, so I don't know what happens to that other one, back in together, and they're trying to solve this mystery of how they all kind of came to be and stuff. And it just looks really, really interesting. The trailer was really cool. That's kind of what drew me to it.
I just looked on Google at the little synopsis they have on the little sidebar on the right side for Google. It has a dysfunctional family of superheroes comes together to solve the mystery of their father's death, the threat of the apocalypse, and more. I was like, oh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, and it's by Dark Horse Comics originally, so I like a lot of their stuff.
Now, is this live action or is this animated? This is live action.
Yeah, it's live action. So it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be different. I'm along for the ride.
Yeah, that's definitely gonna be on my list to watch also.
Yeah, that's supposed to drop the 15th of February, I believe.
Yeah, and Steve Blackman's one of the showrunners on it, and he did a lot of stuff on Fargo that I really liked.
Oh, I watched the first season of Fargo. First season of Fargo was amazing.
So I think that's kind of just another thing that drew me to it. He did a little bit of work on NYPD Blue too. That's kind of where I know him mostly from. That was a show of my youth.
Oh, okay. What is V Wars?
Okay, so this one I don't know too much about because I just found out about it like a day ago, but it drew me because it has Ian Somerhalder in it from The Vampire Diaries.
Boo.
Okay.
I can't say anything. I've never watched Vampire Diaries. Just
Oh,
know
I
very
watched
big.
all of it.
And you liked you there was parts you liked and you love the originals.
The originals is 30 times better than the Vampire Diaries. My main issue with the originals is there's just no discussion of Dracula at all.
Because Dracula.
What, does he exist in the world?
No.
No.
But he's just like such a pervasive thing in vampire culture. I can't understand how there's just this show about vampires that doesn't mention him at all.
They
Well,
do
maybe
mention
they
him
did.
in the Vampire Diaries. They make fun of him. They're like, "Oh, do you think I'm like Dracula? I'm gonna do this and that."
They didn't want to be cliche, I guess. You know.
Yeah, but so V Wars is supposed to be a anthology kind of like we're not really sure, but basically it's like a virus that takes out and starts turning people into vampires.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, which is like super cliche, but it's like his Ian Somerhalder plays like the main character and his best friend.
Is he a vampire?
No, his best friend gets turned into one. I don't think he's a vampire.
I was gonna say, wow, way to get typecasted. Because wasn't his big thing he ended the Vampire Diaries so he could go do other like work?
Not really. The Vampire Diaries kind of ended because Nina Dobrev left and ratings went down. And
okay, I always thought
because she wrote the books, didn't she?
Actually, the fun thing about Vampire Diaries is the books are actually written by this lady who does too many books. Actually,
She has a lot.
Oh my god,
Does she do more books than what's his name? What's that guy who I don't like?
Oh, yeah, James Patterson.
That man has 7 different books out every week.
Yeah, it's ridiculous how many books he brings out. I don't even know how is that humanly possible, but whatever.
There's no way he writes all those books. Oh, so he's like Drake.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, can this man really write that many books? Because he has a ridiculous amount of books come out.
So, going back to the Vampire Diary thing, it's not as many books as James Patterson, but it's L.J. Smith, and she did like a ton of books in like the 80s or maybe it was like late 80s, early 90s. And she did like the Vampire Diaries series. She did the Night World series. She did a ton of series, and like she didn't finish all of them.
No.
Like the Night World series, the last novel was supposed to come out in like 1990 something, and she keeps pushing it back.
I think I heard about that.
It's 2018. I've been waiting for this book for like 13 years.
Mm-mm.
It's exhausting. But anyway, so it's supposed to be about like it's a different take on vampires, and he's a good actor, so I was just interested to see what it's going to be about. It's going to be like a 10 episode drop, and I just figured it was worth mentioning.
Okay. This reminds me of, isn't it Fox or somebody bringing out a show that's kind of like this, where they basically a virus that creates vampires, and then there's like this black girl who has like psychic powers.
Yeah,
I saw a trailer for that the other day, and I was like, what is this program?
Yeah, I didn't know what that was, but this kind of reminds me of that, but without the the whole children have superpowers type angle with it.
Okay, so I found a better description. It says the story will follow Dr. Luther Swan, which is played by Ian Somerhalder, a man whose life is forever changed when his best friend Michael contracts a mysterious disease that turns him into a carnivorous monster. As the disease spreads, it also starts to fracture society, pitting uninfected people against vampires and different vampire camps against each other. The series will be a race of the clock as Dr. Luther tries to find a cure for the disease, and Michael becomes one of the most powerful vampire leaders.
Wow.
It's supposed to be like a fast-paced horror show, but it kind of gives me Walking Dead vibes in a little way.
That's what I just got from your little thing you just read.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I can definitely.
But I figure it's worth a try, and if not, it's 10 episodes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely, because my whole philosophy is pretty much the whole like 3 episodes type watch. if I don't enjoy the show in 3 episodes, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to enjoy the rest of the show.
I tend
That's how I look at it.
I tend to subscribe to that theory. It just depends on how many episodes it's gonna have. Because I feel like it's super hard to judge like 22 episode things off of 3 episodes.
Well, I've through the years waned myself away from the 22 episode format. I just feel like it's way too much, and there's quite a bit of fluff that they throw in there just to extend the season to 22 episodes. So that's why I really do enjoy the Netflix and Amazon Hulu model.
It's like the 10 episode cap, basically. Well, we can thank Game of Thrones for that. I feel like Game of Thrones led the way for anything to be 10 episodes.
And then that's why I don't understand. Game of Thrones, that is perfect. Like 10 episodes, and then they're an hour each or whatever. And
there's millions of people that would disagree with you that think Game of Thrones should be longer. Because so much book material is cut out.
I believe that.
Yeah.
But I just think that doing it that way is much better than, because there's some things that can be, now if you're like an original show, then I feel like there's a lot of things that could be, cut out and not so much fluff or filler or whatever. But if it's based off of some like book material, people are always gonna want to add some more things that weren't in the book to the show. So I feel like it's a balancing act for the showrunners. But I just don't like the 22 episode thing. I've gone away from that a lot. I dislike it.
It's just so much time. Like it's so much. You have to invest so much time to that show.
Yeah, a lot. And then they split it into the season type thing, mid-season finale, and then you gotta wait. And then it's like,
we sound like such millennials right now.
Probably do, but I mean,
we just want that instant gratification. We want that short span television. I mean, people have been watching 22 episode seasons for decades.
Yeah,
no complaints. And they were watching this in a period of time where you could not go back and watch the other episode until it came out on DVD or VHS.
True.
Very true.
So times have changed as we have this podcast about streaming services and their original content. So times have changed. People are consuming their TV differently than
for sure.
Sure.
Back then. We don't no longer have to subscribe to a time and have to be there at that time to watch the show on TV.
It's insane.
And then if you don't catch it, you're just think about when we were growing up and we had the VHS, and you had to, if you didn't pop in the VHS to record it, you pretty much got to wait until whenever it reruns, and
you got to hope it reruns. What if it doesn't rerun?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's just like earlier, I think my aunt has DirecTV, and I was watching something, and I changed the channel to TBS, and the Force Awakens was on, and I was like, oh, it's halfway done. I don't really want to watch half of this movie. And then it was like, oh, push the backward button to start from the beginning.
Yeah, that's a DirecTV thing.
Yep.
Certain channels. It's really cool.
Oh, it's so useful.
But yeah.
Okay.
Consuming TV.
I'm going to get into my most anticipated list because I think you're done, right, Mina?
Yep.
Okay, so my most anticipated for 2019, I tried to keep it kind of short. I tried to have some variability on it. The majority of it is kind of going to be Netflix, though. But anyway, so Sex Education, which is a Netflix show that's coming pretty soon here, and it's basically just going to be about a socially awkward virgin who has a sex therapist for a mother, and then kind of starts his own sex therapy thing in school, which is really weird because he's giving all this advice on things he's never done. I think that looks kind of interesting, and I think it kind of fits in with what I kind of liked in 2018 that Netflix gave us with Big Mouth, All the Boys I've Ever Loved, those kind of two things mashed together. So I'm interested in that. The Umbrella Academy, like Mina already talked about, I just think that's going to be a cool take on something that we kind of haven't seen a whole lot of. And then on Hulu's going to have Looking for Alaska, which is my favorite of John Green's novels. The people on this podcast have probably different opinions on that. We know Dion's favorite is Paper Towns.
No, I still haven't finished that movie.
Yeah, well, that's all it needs to say about Dion. But anyway, it's based on his first novel, and this was the only novel that he's written that was really heavily influenced on his life, I believe. And it deals with a lot of themes that I kind of think are important: grief, hope, the meaning of life and death. So kind of just things that I find enjoyable. So I think that's going to be an interesting one. And then
gonna be sad.
Yes.
Oh.
Anything that has to do with John Green, just expect sadness.
Okay.
With the exception of, well, The Abundance of Catherine's has sad
It's
moments.
sad.
Yeah.
Which might be my other favorite book. It's usually a toss-up between these two, but Looking for Alaska's really, really good. And then the thing I'm most anticipating in 2019, which is really kind of weird for me because it's not usually something I'd be into, but it's a show called Good Omens. I don't know if you guys have seen the trailer for that yet.
Yes, I saw the trailer. It was on my most anticipated, but I took it off. But yeah.
That just looks great. The concept looks really cool to me. It reminds me of, I can't remember the name of it right now, but it's a movie. What is his name? It's a Kevin Smith movie, and Ben Affleck's in it, and it's got like the devil and God, and he's an angel, and I think it's got Matt Damon in it too. Anyways, it's a movie that came out in the 90s that was really freaking odd and weird, and it was about angels and demons, so that's kind of the vibe I get from Good Omens. And it's got Crowley in it. It's not the same Crowley as Supernatural, but the Supernatural Crowley is just so amazing that I'm kind of hoping some of that translates over. Neil Gaiman, I really like his work. I like a lot of the stuff he did on American Gods, so I feel like it's going to translate well there. And then it's got David Tennant in it, who's one of my favorite actors, so I'm really excited about the show Good Omens.
Dogma. Yeah. That's what the movie was called.
Dogma. How did you get that? Did you just kind of type in everything I wrote down?
No, I was trying to remember. I put in like things that I remembered from that movie.
That movie's wild. God is a woman in that movie. Like, it's crazy.
Oh, I gotta watch this. I haven't seen this before.
Yeah, it's good.
But yeah, the on your list, I saw the trailer for Good Omens, and I am really excited for Good Omens. I really like the actors they have. I always enjoy their work. And it looks like it's just gonna be like one of those, wacky, just British type movies. I mean, TV shows.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. I've been really into British stuff lately, so I'm excited.
British. I mean, they have a lot of good content over there. It's just you either have to catch it on Netflix now, or I guess if you subscribe to BBC or something like that, you can watch it there. But I'm new to all that British shows.
So am I. But apparently they've been doing this for years because, like, Doctor Who is the biggest thing in the history of the world.
Yeah, and I don't know where to start with that. I got to talk to like a actual Doctor Who person. Like, can I just like watch this new season where like the Doctor is a female, or should I watch?
That's what I've always heard. I've always heard it's just so transitional that you could jump in wherever you want. It's really like anthology based in that sense. But if I'm gonna do it, I got to go back to the first one and watch it through. And that's a commitment that I don't have right now.
That was really rough for me. I ended up going through all of it, and that was so rough to get through some of the first Doctors. I definitely don't think you have to watch all of them to jump in. I think they do a great job of being able to jump in. I think you just catch a lot of the little things and just like neat things that they put into some of the new seasons if you have watched previous ones. But honestly, if you go back 2 or 3 Doctors, I think that's like a great introduction.
You should be good.
Does that take you back to Matt Smith, or does that take you back to David Tennant?
Honestly, I would recommend both. To me, they're my 2 favorite Doctors. I would go through. I would start with probably David Tennant, then watch Matt Smith, and then watch can't remember his name right now.
The old guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was cool.
Yeah. But as a whole, like, oh, go ahead. What was his name?
Christopher something. I can't think of it right now.
Oh, okay. But yeah, there's a whole mythology inside of itself and whole universe you got to get into.
Oh yeah.
It's a whole fandom.
Yeah, it's a big fandom too.
It's intense.
I didn't even know about Doctor Who until college, probably.
I didn't know about Doctor Who until we watched that Christmas special the one time, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
Oh,
see, yeah, the first Doctor Who episode I watched was the oh god, not the Weeping Angels. Is it Weeping Angels? Yeah, the Weeping Angels episode.
Oh, is that what Matt had in his room?
I have no idea.
There was that weird poster he bought. I think that's what that was.
Yeah, they're like these like stone angel figures, and if you blink, they get closer. It was so creepy and well done that I was like, I have to watch this show.
Oh, that's cool. yeah. I guess I'll go to my list.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So for most anticipated in 2019, my list is not in order by anything, but the first thing I got on here is Young Justice season 3. Because
Boy, I am.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I am so happy they brought it back. I think the first 3 episodes are out now on the DC app, DC Universe app. And I haven't got a chance to watch them yet, but I'm going to probably, because I think I looked at the DC Universe app, and I think it's going to be 2 months that this, I think season 3 and maybe season 4 or whatever is slated, unless it's just one season 3 slated over 2 months. But I'm probably going to pay into it, the DC Universe, just for Young Justice, and then probably get out then, because I did finish Titans. Titans I enjoyed. It's just a different take on the Titans, and I enjoyed the show. It's just if you're looking for a different, darker take on the Titans, then I would suggest watching Titans. But if you don't really care, then I wouldn't recommend it, because I don't think it's worth the price for just Titans alone. But Young Justice might have me buy into the DC
Yep.
service. Then Dark Crystal
Oh my gosh.
on
The long
Netflix,
awaited.
and is I think it's Dark Crystal Resistance, and this is
Yeah,
I
just
found out it's a
Resistance.
prequel. This is a prequel to the Dark
Right.
Crystal movie, and I just found that movie very weird as a child watching it. But it's one of my most beloved movies I've watched with puppets.
Mhm.
It's weird because this movie holds a special place in my heart, because we bought the VHS and the DVD. The movie, in my opinion, is, I'm gonna go back and watch it again just to refresh my mind. But the movie was so weird, and but things stuck with me from that movie, like the characters and the way they look and stuff stuck with me from that movie. And I just find that them bringing this back, and this puppetry or whatever, bringing this back for the new generation or whatever, for us or whatever, is very interesting. I would never think that Dark Crystal will come back
For
at
sure.
all.
I would have never thought that would have happened.
So I found that very interesting. And then the last thing is Stranger Things season 3. I am really stoked to see where they go with this, because they did have some things open at the end of season 2. I mean, they closed off the little thing with the demigorgons and stuff, I think, in season 2. At the end of season 2, it looked like they did, but I think they're dealing with a new monster this season, I believe, and they still have to deal with number 11 and the whole corporate thing that's going on with
Right.
other siblings or whatever that might be out there. So I'm looking forward to season 3, and where the kids are gonna go from this. I think these kids are probably gonna grow up on Stranger Things. If it continues to have the same success that the first 2 seasons had, the kids are gonna grow up on the show.
For sure.
But that is my most anticipated for 2019. Any thoughts?
Besides, I'm so excited for the Dark Crystal prequel, just because the Dark Crystal, Labyrinth, all of those films I remember so vividly from my childhood,
Yeah.
that and it was so cool with all the puppeteering and all of that. I'm excited to see what they do with it. And they said it's going to be minimal CGI. It's going to be a lot of real things, and they said they were going to have some green screens, but most of it is going to be real, which is I'm also excited about.
Yes, I am. And then I'm guessing this is gonna, I'm not sure, but I'm guessing it's gonna explain how the world got split up between the I think, what are they called, Skinksies or whatever those bird creatures were, and then
Yep.
those the good, old slow moving sloth type whatever creatures. I'm guessing they're gonna explain how they got split.
Yeah, that's what one of the synopsises I read for it said, because I had never heard of the Dark Crystal.
Oh, I recommend watching it. It's quite an interesting watch.
It's
Yeah.
all
It's fun.
I didn't even realize that the Dark Crystal, Labyrinth, all of those are done by the same people.
You know what else is done by that
That
person?
would explain it. Why they
Yeah,
all
They
were
all
like,
visually are very similar.
But you know what else that person did?
What?
Well, two things really: Bear in the Big Blue House
Oh my gosh.
and
Whoa.
the Muppets.
Okay, yeah, that's the plan.
Okay, yeah.
Because
A
it's
lot
all
of
Jim
puppeteering.
Henson. He's like the
Oh, that was Jim.
pioneer.
Oh, Jim Henson did all this. I didn't
Yeah,
even
he's
know.
the pioneer in puppeteering. So
Yeah.
Yep, he is.
Oh, Fraggle Rock too.
yeah.
I didn't even know that. I thought that was Jim Henson's property, but I was not sure. I didn't even look it up.
Because that's what, when I was looking into it, I saw that and I was like, okay, that makes me a lot more interested in this whole thing because I really do like his work, and his daughter's involved in this prequel, so I just thought that's interesting.
Bear in the Big Blue House was like
That show was kind of lit. I like that.
I didn't know that was puppets.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
I thought that was a man in a bear costume.
Oh, yeah, it could have been. I can see that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
News to me. Anyway. No, yeah, I think your list is solid. I think Young Justice is going to do really well. I'm happy for you. It's 26 episodes, so you'll be real thrilled.
Mm-hmm. I'm just surprised that they brought Young Justice back from being canceled on Cartoon Network with that cliffhanger of season 2.
I'm not surprised, though, because it did numbers on Netflix. Like, it was one of the most watched shows on Netflix. I feel like Netflix feels really upset that they did not get the opportunity to put season 3 on Netflix.
True.
Because that would have done well for them.
Yeah, but I don't know how far in advance the DC streaming service was thought of. Might have been far in advance.
What else is the DC streaming service getting? I might just not be knowledgeable.
They did release a trailer for Doom Patrol, and Young Cyborg is going to be in Doom Patrol.
Okay.
So, and then they're getting that Harley Quinn show, the animated Harley Quinn show that they released a trailer for.
Oh, yeah.
Harley Quinn is such an interesting character.
Yeah. She blew up off. I mean, she was always a favorite character from the Batman animated show.
But like that's literally
they brought her back into the limelight with Suicide Squad.
Yeah, but it's just crazy that she blew up off that animated Batman show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just find that I'm super happy that they're gonna tackle the cliffhanger and the storyline that they left in Young Justice season 2. Because I do think in terms of like balancing the act between like, I guess more adult type themes, or like teen type themes. Well, more serious type themes, more serious type themes with like action and like, and it's really cool to see the characters interact with each other and like the relationships they build with each other, and like, because season 2 was like like the whole spy infiltration type thing going on,
right?
With the Huntress dying and stuff like that. So it was cool. I really enjoy it because I feel like they balance the serious and the cartoony stuff really well.
It made up for a lot of the issues that I had with Justice League Unlimited.
Sure. And I really did enjoy Justice League Unlimited.
See, I didn't enjoy that. I enjoyed Justice League.
But when they went Unlimited, you didn't.
When they went Unlimited, it just felt like they were trying to jam all these characters down my throat. It was just too much.
Oh, they were.
The story was less cohesive.
Gotta sell them toys.
That's literally what it was for. I feel like they were like, okay, we can't make any more variations of these toys, so let's make a show with every DC character ever. Go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I just hope the quality doesn't drop just because it's on the DC Universe streaming service. That's the only thing I'm afraid of. But I'm excited from the trailers and like the previews and stuff. It doesn't look like it looked like the same animation, the same quality. It doesn't look like they dropped anything, really.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm gonna probably have to buy into the DC app and watch it, and I guess I'll watch Titans while I'm at it.
Yeah, Titans is it's interesting. It's interesting to say the least. I don't think it's not the show could be done a lot better in my opinion, and the CGI is pretty cruddy, but just seeing those characters it's I would say it's more of a Riverdale type situation. You seeing your characters thrown into a darker situation.
Mm-hmm.
So
Why does DC think it has to be so dark?
I don't know. Well, that's why I enjoy, like Young Justice and like the original animated Teen Titans, because they had darker themes, but it wasn't like so dark where everybody's dying and everybody's brooding and
Well, I mean,
everybody's
okay,
sad.
think
You
of
know,
how well The Dark Knight did. Like,
that might have done it. The Dark Knight.
like
That's probably why. I mean, yeah, the Dark Knight spawned on why the DC universe in the movies became so dark because of the Dark Knight. They were trying to fit it all into like a Dark Knight type aesthetic, and
But
it
the
didn't do so
Dark
well.
Knight doesn't work.
Not with every property.
Not even
That's where they missed it.
It ultimately doesn't. I know this is like way off topic too, but not
Like,
even ultimately with Batman does it work, because the final movie in that series is garbage.
yeah, the final movie's not that good.
So
It's just the Dark Knight movie.
Batman Begins isn't that good.
I think Batman Begins is very good.
I think it's good, but I mean, it's not. I wouldn't put it in my top 3 Batman movies.
I don't know. Like The Dark Knight for me was like I've rewatched that movie a million times. I really enjoyed that movie. I thought it was done well.
I agree. The Dark Knight is done really, really well, but I think it's the only one of those movies that can operate in that dark space, and it's because like Heath Ledger gives the performance of a lifetime. Like that's what carries that movie in that darkness. If anybody else had tried to do that, I mean, we don't know, but I would imagine it wouldn't have gone over as well, and this whole dark theme would not be as prevalent as it is, and everybody wouldn't be trying to do it.
And I do think that the Dark Knight Rises wasn't as good of a movie because what's the director's name? He did not want to do these movies anymore.
No, he was tired.
Yeah, he's
and
tired
Christian
of doing.
Bale didn't want to be Batman anymore either.
Christian Bale always thinks he's a better actor than he is.
I mean, I'm not going to argue with that because in Newsies he was very upset the entire time.
Christopher Nolan, yeah, he was
Yeah.
tired of doing the super. I think if I remember right, he was basically like kind of paid and forced into doing the last Dark Knight Rises. He didn't really care, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I'm kind of done with this. I already made my masterpiece. I don't know why I need to make this last one.
Dark Knight Rises was the one with Bane in it, right?
Yeah, and Tom Hardy gives that terrible performance.
I mean,
he's quotable.
It's quotable. Like
his Bane voice kills me.
But you remember it.
Because I hate it so much.
That's not a good reason to remember it.
That's I think the DC missed the boat. We're trying to. I was talking about this today with my father, and they try to rush the universe together, and then they tried to just stretch the Dark Knight theme across all movies, and I was like, that doesn't fit for every character. So I don't know why y'all are doing this.
They rushed the formula.
Yeah, they rushed the formula very heavy. But that's that coming back to full circle, the Young Justice. I feel like the Young Justice and Teen Titans, they balance the darkness and the more light elements a lot better with these animated shows.
Yeah, and I think to their credit, they even do a better job than like the DC animated movies do.
I haven't watched a lot of DC animated movies. I gotta binge those because there's been a lot that come out. A lot of them has come out.
I've watched a lot of them. Stuff that sticks out to me is just how like weirdly dark they made. Like The Killing Joke is dark, but I feel like they made it even darker than it needed to be with the stuff they added to it. So just stuff like that. It's just they don't seem to understand DC.
Yeah. And then was it The Killing Joke? They added that whole Batgirl thing.
Yeah.
That whole controversy.
Yeah.
And when I saw it, and then I was like, this doesn't fit in the movie at all. Why? I don't know why this is in the movie to begin with. It doesn't like make me care about the characters anymore. I don't know.
Yeah. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. Yeah, like you said, there's a couple episodes already out on that, so I'm sure we'll talk more about that as it kind of goes along.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know how quality wise the Doom Patrol or anything is going to be, because Titans could be a lot better in my opinion. It's but it could be better. It could be a lot better. But I don't know how Doom Patrol is going to fare. But is there any like season 2 stuff? I mean, well, things that y'all see on the list that you would want to like sequel or a season 2 to that hasn't been announced yet.
That hasn't been announced yet?
Yeah, that hasn't been announced yet. Because they already confirmed Big Mouth season 3 is coming, right? Pretty
Yeah,
much.
that's the one thing kind of on my list that I'm really interested to see where they go. Because I think I wonder if there's going to be any time jumps. I wonder how they're going to kind of play everything. Because
there doesn't need to be a time jump, in my opinion.
I think they're going to jump them a little bit because I think they want them to get a little older. That's kind of the vibe I've gotten.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, there really doesn't need to be one. It's very interesting so far. So I think I'm just really excited to see where season 3 goes. I think season 2 ended on a really good place.
Yeah, and for me, I haven't confirmed She-Ra yet, but I'm almost positive they'll get a season 2.
Yeah, She-Ra, I'm looking forward to the next season. I feel like they can season 2. They can fix a lot of things, and like I said before, there's we can have another time where we talk about She-Ra, but there's some things that in that show I feel like could have been done better, easily been done better, but they just didn't do it. So that gives us a second season to make it forward. I think on my list, all I see is I don't know if they confirmed Castle Rock season 2, but I'm looking forward to that whenever that comes out. And then I don't think Haunting on Hill House can have a season 2, to be honest. I
feel like from what I've read and from what you've said, it's very self-contained.
I think it's very It would be. I think if they did, it would be a anthology type thing.
Mm-hmm.
But to be completely honest, it doesn't need a season 2. It would just be interesting if they did make a season 2. And then we just got a bunch of most anticipated. Carmen Sandiego. I'm excited to see what they do with it. I wonder how far kid like is it going to be, or is it going to be like a thing for like all ages type thing?
Well, because so this is like the animated show coming out, but Gina Rodriguez, who's going to be Carmen Sandiego, is actually also doing a live action Carmen Sandiego. So I'm interested to see if that will tie into each other. Mm-hmm.
Might actually. That would be interesting. I wonder what they're going to do with that. Oh, I want to talk about. I know, Nick. I don't think you haven't done the. Wait, both of y'all haven't done the Bandersnatch thing yet, right?
No, we haven't.
Okay. Well, we might talk about it in the next podcast, maybe, probably.
For sure.
Because I want to talk about the whole interactive. Is this where the whole like casual gaming type choose your own adventure? Is this where the market is going towards more of these interactive type movies or TV shows where you're making choices? Because they've had this in video games for quite a while now with the Telltale games and the Walking Dead and all them. So it's been in video games for quite a while now, but I wonder if, because Netflix seems like they're pushing this, I don't know if other networks are going to pick this up. And
has Netflix announced anything else like this?
They have the Minecraft story mode that's like this, and then I think Bandersnatch, and I think they have Puss in Boots. I think it's a movie, Puss in Boots movie. They have on there that's interactive also.
Really?
Yeah. So they have a few things that's interactive so far, but Bandersnatch is I think the big one that got people riled up and talking about.
Oh yeah, I mean it's everywhere.
Because it was trending on Twitter for like a whole day, pretty much a night and a day.
Yeah, it was huge. So I think
we could probably talk about that next podcast or something like that.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, well, we have reached the end of episode 1 of Swimming in the Stream. We would really love to hear your feedback or most anticipated of 2019, or what you've loved to watch in 2018. We would love to get a conversation going and hear back from y'all. And you can email us at swimminginthestream@gmail.com. And credit goes to Nice Turnham for the song you are listening to right now.